Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Hank Graddy. It was a beautiful drive this morning from Midway to Maysville as the sun was coming up, and it's good to be here. I'm Hank Graddy. I'm an attorney from Woodford County. My office is in Versailles, Kentucky, and I've written a letter to you. This is my second letter to the fiscal court. I was with you on September 9th. I wrote a letter asking that you consider adopting a zoning ordinance to address data centers. Mr. Esther referred to me as the opponent. I'm here today in support of a zoning ordinance that protects the community of Mason County and prepares you for data centers. So it's not exactly the case that I am against being here. I'm in fact in favor of being here to help adopt an adequately protective ordinance. I asked for that in September, and you all were a step ahead of me. You all adopted a resolution that day to begin the process that brings us here. I was before you early last week on the 10th, where the ground rules were announced, and I'm here today to make a presentation regarding what is in front of you. In general, my concerns this morning are very similar to my concerns in December when I spoke to the Planning Commission. I delivered a PowerPoint presentation. I referenced several resource materials, and I submitted a letter, and I submitted comments. So I have begun my letter to you today with the same beginning that I submitted to the Planning Commission on what I believe are the most serious failings of what's in front of you. You will see as I go through my letter, I use two terms, and I want to give you the overview. In some places I say I request that you remand. As I request that you recognize that what the Planning Commission has sent you is inadequate, and it should be sent back to the Planning Commission so that the Planning Commission does a better job of addressing the matters that need to be addressed in an adequate ordinance for Mason County and Maysville. In other places, I use the word add or address. So in some situations, I believe my suggestion is simple enough, what the content I've given you is clear enough that you could simply say, we will adopt this language in the ordinance as a step-by-step process. But I will be asking you today and next week to go through these specific objections and address these omissions, but because I believe the ordinance is sufficiently defective currently, the overall request is that you send this back to the Planning Commission and address the issues that they have failed to address in the draft that they have sent to you. Today, like December 9th, the most serious problem with that draft and today's final draft is that it does not adequately protect the citizens' right to participate in the data center site selection process. The text that you have would allow a proposed data center in land currently zoned I3, rural industrial, simply by preparing a development plan. What that means is that the Planning Commission could approve the development plan And your ordinance, as it's currently written, does not require a public hearing, which means the public would get no opportunity to speak on a data center at all under the current version that you have, if they propose to put it in an I3 zone. Kentucky law actually backs that up. A development plan is not required to have a public hearing unless there is text in your ordinance that requires a public hearing on a development plan. Even when a development plan must get planning commission approval, there is no requirement in the law up to now, and none in your ordinance, that requires the planning commission hold a public hearing. So the first step is to amend the ordinance so that the public actually can participate in the decision about whether there's going to be a data center anywhere in the county. Now, obviously, if they need to rezone, there's a rezoning hearing, all right? But I'm talking about the ordinance as it's currently written, and it allows a data center in your I3 simply by preparing a development. Now, the development plan has lots of details. Some of them I think are positive. I'll get to those. But right now, it does not allow any public participation. This is a glaring omission on something as important as a data center. As you will see when I get through my letter, I'm asking that every data center, whether it's in an I3 zone, every data center should be zoned to a specific zoning designation that doesn't yet exist in your ordinance for data centers, and that it be a conditional use. This was in my suggestion to the Planning Commission. All of that has been left out of the text that is in front of you. That I consider is the most glaring omission of the document that's in front of you. A second serious problem with the proposed text is that it contains nothing that protects Mason County's prime farmland and farmland of statewide importance, which is clearly contrary to the text found in your 2016 comprehensive plan and your 2025 Mason County comprehensive plan update. Without any language that protects prime farmland and important Mason County farmland, this proposed text validates the fears of my clients that this process of adopting a zoning ordinance is a step toward removing as much as 8,000 acres of farmland from farming. This is not in Mason County's public interest. This is not in the interest of Kentucky. We must protect our prime farmland, whether it's Woodford County farmland or Mason County farmland or in between. Based on the foregoing, we recommended the following addition to the Mason County Data Center Ordinance to the Planning Commission, and we therefore recommend it to you. So if you'll turn to page 3, Section 4, General Requirements Relating to Location of Data Centers. No data center shall be located, number 1, on lands with slopes over 20%. You can read the rest. Number 2, within a 100-year floodplain unless flood impacts are mitigated. 3, on wetlands. Number 4, on prime farmland or farmland of state importance. Or number 5, where such facilities may cause or contribute to the taking of threatened or endangered species. So the first requirement is to add language that protects prime farmland and farmland of statewide importance, or the second requirement. The first is to bring the public into the process. The second is to fix the ordinance so it protects prime farmland. Number 3, and this is to the Planning Commission and to you. We asked the Planning Commission, and now we ask the Fiscal Court to strengthen the setback requirements. I attached in the record, you'll see Oldham County the Planning Commission has recommended 1,000-foot setbacks from residential zone to residential use properties. I've also attached in the text that's in front of you language from Frederick, Maryland, with a 500-foot setback. Based on the foregoing, we recommended the following changes. We recommended to the Planning Commission and we now recommend it to you. Data centers, I'm under setbacks. I won't read all the text. At least 500 feet from all outer perimeter property lines, at least 1,500 feet from a sensitive use or boundary of any residential, commercial, or agricultural district. Those are recommendations we made to the Planning Commission. We're making them this morning to you all. Specific comments to the February 4th, 2026 final draft. I'm no longer reading from the letter that I submitted to the Planning Commission. I'm reading for what is directly in front of you, including the findings of fact. I'm now at the bottom of page 3. The Planning Commission findings of fact and conditional use adopted February 4th on a 5-to-1 vote fails to comply with KRS 100 in general and KRS 100-213 in particular, where these proposed text amendments are not in agreement with the current comprehensive plan and do not recite either of the statutory exceptions when a zoning change is proposed that does not agree with the comprehensive plan. The language found in conclusion of law number 2, and I'm quoting from the findings the Planning Commission made, quote, empowered to enact land use regulations in conjunction with the comprehensive plan. That is not the criteria of KRS 100-213. Nowhere is a zoning amendment approvable if you say it's in conjunction with the comprehensive plan. The zone change is to be in agreement with the comprehensive plan, not in conjunction with the comprehensive plan. The zoning text amendment must comply with KRS 100-213. This proposed amendment does not. Max Moran, speaking for Weir Mason County, spoke to the Joint Planning Commission on September 3rd, 2025, and he provided them with text to amend the comprehensive plan to specifically address data centers. The Planning Commission failed to take action as part of the comprehensive plan process. Last week, Judge McNeil stated that he had been working on this project for 2 years. Judge McNeil has been on the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee. From my perspective, there is no justification for the current failure of the comprehensive plan to plan for and address data centers in Mason County. I believe it is a violation of KRS 100 for the Mason County Fiscal Court to seek to enact a data center ordinance text amendment prior to amending the comprehensive plan to address data centers in Mason County. Where the current comprehensive plan has policies that expressly provide for the protection of prime farmland or statewide important farmland, this proposed ordinance, which ignores that consideration, violates what is in the plan. So it is defective because it is addressing something that is not addressed in the plan, and the plan should address where data centers should go, and it doesn't. And what you have in front of you fails to address what is in the comprehensive plan, and that is this community's protecting its prime farmland. In paragraph 8, I have other quotes from the comprehensive plan, including the quote on page 94, random development in Mason County has a negative effect on farming. Comprehensive plan, page 94. The proposed final draft fails to mention, much less protect and retain prime farmland and farmland of importance. It's not in agreement with the comprehensive plan. We support on page 1 of the final text the addition of the definition of sensitive use. That is an addition that wasn't in the draft we looked at in December, and that is a positive. The fiscal court is requested to disapprove section 2 of the permitted zoning districts as written and remand this section back to the Joint Planning Commission to establish a new zoning district, industrial data center, and add the following language or language equivalent. Data centers shall only be located in the heavy industrial zoning district I-2 or the rural industrial zoning district I-3 as a conditional use upon, one, application for a map amendment to reclassify the property on which the data center will be located to industrial data center. That is a new zoning designation that does not yet exist in your zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission should be instructed to create that new zoning district, and upon the issuance of a conditional use permit by the commission or the fiscal court in conjunction with the requested zone change. If the members of the fiscal court and Judge McNeil will turn to the pages at the back of my letter, there's 3 pages I want to call to your attention right now that were not in the letter that I sent to Mr. Estel on Friday, but these were in my presentation to the Planning Commission, and they're in the record in the 8-inch binder in front of you. I got to go through the binder, but I would like you to look at these 3 pages. The first page is from a study by a well-respected, relatively neutral planning organization on regulating data centers. And you'll see that they describe 4 options. Option 1, create an overlay district. Option 2, create a planned innovative research and technology district, PIRT. Option 3, note preferred data center locations in the comprehensive plan and invite owner or hyper initiated rezoning applications. And option 4, implement a specific data center zoning district defined by the ordinance. The 2 that I think are probably the most widely used in the communities that are furthest advanced in this are an overlay district or a special zoning designation. I think an overlay district is an option worth considering. I'm recommending that you create a specific data center zone, not that you, I'm recommending that you ask the Planning Commission to propose a specific data center zoning district for your adoption in addition to the zoning ordinance of Mason County and Maysville. Below that are 2 pages, and at this point I need to remind myself, it's my belief that even though you've got 8 inches of documents in front of you, I attempted to put in my testimony for the Planning Commission a number of documents, and I encountered a rule from the Planning Commission that said I was not allowed to put in documents longer than 10 pages. And I asked to have that rule waived. I wanted to introduce the Kentucky Resource Council Model Data Center Ordinance, which I cite throughout this document. It's 20 pages long. I wanted to bring in the study that the page you just looked at came from. It's 60 pages long. And I wanted to introduce a study from Prince George County in Virginia, which is 400 pages long. My understanding is that a few of my requests were granted, but I'm pretty sure that the Planning Commission refused to allow the 400-page document into the record. I do need to make sure the record reflects my objection. I don't believe that the 10-page requirement is fair. It inhibits my ability to provide the complete document that I'm quoting from. And so I believe that I have been unfairly limited in my presentation by that, what I believe is an arbitrary rule, and I want the record to reflect that. But the part of this document that I'm calling to your attention are these pages where this study, this is a community, Prince George County, Maryland, that was going through what you all are going through. They were studying how do we best plan for data centers. It took them a year to do it. They prepared a 480-page study. And they looked at 6 communities: Loudoun County, Virginia, quote, the Pioneer; Frederick, Maryland, the Reclaimer; Fulton County, Georgia, Atlanta; Franklin County, New Albany, the Deal Maker; and Fairfax County, Virginia. Franklin County is important because your consultant cited Franklin County, the consultant that the county hired for the Planning Commission. He quoted extensively from Frank, from the rules in New Albany, Ohio. And as you can see there, that is the least restrictive zoning ordinance of the group. New Albany is clearly an outlier. While land use talks about the positives in New Albany, but basically it is the least protective of these 6 that Prince George County was looking at. The next page is another summary of each of these, but you'll see that Frederick, Maryland is the one that includes protecting agricultural lands. Some of these use overlays, some of these use special use zoning designations. I've already mentioned that. I think that's an interesting choice. I don't have a dog in that fight. Either way, I'm recommending a special data center zoning district. But this is to give you an example of another community going through the same process you're going through, but doing a more systematic study of what is state-of-the-art management, preparing a community for data centers. And I would ask you to use those examples for your own information and ask the Planning Commission to give you something more comprehensive. How am I doing, Ms. Vestal?
You've got 9 minutes left on the total.
I'm now on page 5. I've already mentioned setbacks. You'll see in paragraph 12, I talk about, here's, I'm sorry, let me the section on paragraph 12 refers to the setbacks that are in the proposed ordinance. And what you have, 500 feet, is an improvement on the smaller setbacks in earlier drafts. I would ask the fiscal court to either add or to ask the Planning Commission to add back the larger setbacks for sensitive uses. That was in an earlier draft. It has been taken out, and I would recommend that it be brought back in, and where there are sensitive uses, the setback be 1,500 feet. Secondly, an earlier draft had language that allowed greater setbacks where necessary to help meet noise requirements. And that sentence has been deleted in this section. I would urge you to ask the Planning Commission to reconsider that and perhaps bring back the opportunity to set a more stringent setback requirement if it's necessary to meet noise requirements. In paragraph 13, I quote from page 3 under section E, buffering and screening. And it talks about, this section describes an affirmative and continuing duty. And this relates to maintaining the screening. But it's talking about something into the future that needs to be maintained and continues. And then later on page 4 and 5, there's some other requirements under noise that talk about into the future, a post-construction noise analysis and monitoring enforcement to make sure the noise centers are staying within their limits. Those kinds of future activities are precisely what a conditional use addresses. That's how we have conditional uses, to be able to make sure the Planning Commission has authority to monitor into the future and make sure that the requirement that the applicant said he's going to comply with can be held accountable. And without conditional uses, the Planning Commission has no regular mechanism to enforce these promises into the future. And the consultant that spoke to the Planning Commission, he referenced data center ordinances in Ohio, and those included situations where conditional uses were required. I'm not going to go into that detail here, but there's plenty of example of conditional uses as part of data center government across the country, and it's not here, but it needs to be here. And so I would ask that you send this back and to create a zoning designation for data centers and require conditional use.
Your 5 minutes.
1 minute wind up,
1 minute?
and then we'll reserve your 5.
I thought I had 9 minutes a minute ago. That was a very quick 9 minutes.
No, 9 minutes on the total. That's,
9 minutes on the
if
total.
you'll wind up, then we'll reserve your 5.
Let me use 1 minute. Number 14, I got language there that urges you to use that lighting section. The lighting section, I believe, is inadequate. Page 6, there are a number of other specific suggestions. I would urge you to read those, and I would recommend them. There are different standards for noise and 2 different measurements for noise, dBA and dBc. And I'm urging a 40 dBA, 45 dBA. But you'll see those. And then skipping down to page 7, I do come back to, I do want to mention the community benefit agreement. Mr. Shell, the consultant from Kimley Horn, talked about the Ohio plans. New Albany, this is under the community benefit analysis, which is part of your plan. I'm urging the community impact analysis include a community benefit agreement, which is actually requires the developer to sign a document that he will actually do what he says he's going to do. And this is in the text that Andy Shell was recommending you all consider.
Mr. Graddy, if you want to keep your 5 minutes, you need to wind up.
I'll keep 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you're there.
Finally, members of the fiscal court, I do at 23 ask that you require the assessment, the environmental assessment, assess the impact on farmland and on chemicals in the cooling water. And finally, section Q seeks, in my opinion, to penalize a citizen who does not get adequate resolution by requiring a $500 arbitration fee. We believe this penalty is an unconstitutional penalty and cannot be justified in KRS 100. And we believe it's an insult to the people that live and work in Mason County. We ask that you remove the penalty and that you remand all of this back to the Planning Commission to address the concerns that I've put in front of you. Thank you.
Mr. Graddy.
Mr. Graddy, do you remember where this graphic is from?
What did you
The
say?
first one, the first graphic? Regulating data centers, do you remember where that's from?
I do. If you'll let me get in my briefcase, I can.
Just let me know in a minute. Yeah, sure. Okay.
I'll take care of that in my 4 minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.